COVID-19 simply means coronavirus disease discovered in 2019. It's amazing that about a month ago, I went to a function, and while I was to talk about this COVID-19 in the gathering like this, I just asked an elite, somebody I thought will know what is COVID-19. And his answer was that COVID-19 is one of the diseases which is listed as the 19th on the book of diseases. And what that told me then was that a lot of us we shout COVID-19, COVID-19. We don't even know what COVID-19 means. That's why I decided to start this short talk on what exactly does COVID-19 means. COVID-19 just means coronavirus disease discovered in 2019. This COVID-19 was discovered in Wuhan, in China, in December 2019. And it may interest us to note that the first case in Nigeria was that of a 44-year-old Italian who came into Nigeria in February, and he came through the Murtala Mohammed Airport, and he had classical symptoms and signs of the COVID-19, and it was discovered on 27th of February 2020 in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria. This happens to be the third case of COVID-19 in the whole of Africa. The first was discovered in Egypt earlier on, followed by Guinea, and then the case in Nigeria, this Italian, was the third in Africa. And that was how COVID penetrated into Nigeria. It's important for me to mention that since this first day of February 27th, 2020, till date, Lagos State has been the epicenter of this COVID-19 infection. By March 2020, precisely 11th of March 2020, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. A pandemic is a disease or illness that has left its primary focus and spread to several nations of the world. Here is a disease that started in Wuhan, China by December 2019, and by March 2020 has become a pandemic. For epidemiologists, this tells us that we are in for a big business. In Nigeria, precisely in Lagos again, our first wave of severe infection started in April and lasted till about August 2020. That was when we had the first wave of the disease. You will remember the episode of the lockdown. The lockdown meant everybody sits at home, and this was geared towards ensuring containment of the illness, of the viral illness. There are two ways to it. During the lockdown, we have a lot of families that had not really known themselves. They found husbands and wives, they had to live together in harmony and stayed at home, ate breakfast together, had lunch together, had dinner together, and when they fought in the morning, they will have to finish they have to settle their fight by evening time. And also, we had cases of children, especially in Lagos here, where the father had to leave home by 5 a.m. because he's staying at Lasamaja and working on Victoria Island. Leave home by 5 a.m. and he doesn't get back home till 11. But during the lockdown, what happened? Everybody met with each other. On the other hand, people in Lagos are mostly day-to-day earners, market men, market women, businessmen, who necessarily have to go out to get their daily living. Here we are, everybody was at home. What happened? there was a lot of pressure on the state government, indeed on the federal government, because the lockdown started in Lagos and became a national affair, if you remember very well. And there were pressures from all sides on the presidency to ease the lockdown. All these were geared towards making sure that the virus was contained. Also, it's important for me to mention today that that first wave was essentially due to an alpha variant of the disease, of the virus, which emanated from the United States and the United Kingdom. We had a spike at that time, and that time happened, that's this June, July, August. That happened to be a time when, that's during summer, and a lot of our children schooling in UK, the US, they came home for summer break here. Also, some adults who reside in these two countries came home too here on vacation and thereabouts, and they brought in this virus. And this led to a community spread, which led to the first wave. After the first wave, we had a sort of quietened season, and some people thought that that was the end of coronavirus. But what happened? By December 2020, we had another second wave of the disease. This again happened to be a time when some people who could not withstand the winter season in the United States, in the United Kingdom, decided to come to Nigeria for their vacation and holidays. And this was part of the factors that led to the second wave of the coronavirus disease. You remember, we did not have a full lockdown, but there were restrictions. Some of these restrictions were no nightclub, no parties, and not more than 50 people in gatherings. I'm sure we'll remember this time. In fact, it came to a time in Lagos, the gatherings were said not more than 20 people in a gathering. So there are other restrictions. Between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., no movement at all. And this was during the second wave. Again, the second wave was thought, in fact, it was due to the beta variant of the virus. This was thought to come in from South Africa. For those who have been following the disease, South Africa had a lot of mortality, a lot of deaths from COVID-19 around December, January of 2020 and 2021. So the beta variant of the virus came in from South Africa. Also, around and about this time, after the second wave, was when we had the flag off of the vaccination, the first phase of the vaccination. The first phase was flagged off here in Lagos by Governor Sanwo-Olu on 13th of March, 2021. And we then had the AstraZeneca vaccine. We thought with the vaccination, for as many people that will have been vaccinated at that time, that this is coming to a gradual end. Unfortunately, in fact, I can tell us that the Lagos State government decommissioned some isolation centers as well as some resource persons who were volunteers that took part in the first wave and part of the second wave. The volunteers were told to leave because there was no acute cases of COVID-19 any longer. Here we are, by July 2021 till today, a third wave has still been raging. And I must say that this third wave is as a result of the Delta variant, which came in from India. For most of us here, we may not know the movement of Indians to Nigeria, but because I am in the EOC and I'm directly involved, I couldn't believe it, the number of Indians, number of Nigerians coming from India every blessed day coming to Nigeria. So we were not surprised in our committee that the Delta variant that was discovered in India came to Nigeria. Following the third wave, some countries have been listed as red countries, amber countries, and green countries. The red countries, for the purpose of this seminar today, for Nigeria, the red countries are India, Turkey, Brazil, and South Africa. However, barely a week ago, in fact, 4 or 5 days ago, India has been removed from the red countries for Nigeria. What does this mean for us in Nigeria? Any passenger, any traveler coming in from these 4 countries up until now would need to be isolated at designated isolation facilities and some hotels at the traveler's expense. We are not the only country doing that. Canada is doing it. In fact, if you are to travel to Canada today, you will have to pay for compulsory isolation at a designated hotel for about 5 days or thereabout. And this runs into a lot of Canadian dollars. So for passengers or travelers coming from these 4 red countries, the same thing applies to them, including Nigerians coming in from those countries. On Thursday, I was delighted to see a childhood friend of mine at our center, and I thought he came to do the COVID-19 test, and I was ready to approve him to do it for free, only for him to tell me that he's just arriving from South Africa, and he was told to come and pay to isolate in our center. And I was like, that's good, you are welcome. I'll make sure they give you one of the best rooms here in Bagada. And he was so furious. I had to sit him down. I sat him down, explained the reasons to him. And he threatened to go home. He lives in Lagos here, that he's going to go home to his family and then come back again. And I said, no, since you have registered here, if you step outside there, we have people who are monitoring us. Your name is going to be broadcast on the social media as having evaded isolation in Bagada. He said, so you people are very serious. I said, yes, we are very serious. He said, okay. He's still there now. Praise the Lord. So the Delta variant came in from India. There was talk of Delta plus variant that came in, that was discovered in India too, some 2-3 weeks ago or thereabouts. But the Delta plus variant is what we refer to as a variant of interest, not a variant of concern. There are 2 in virology. You either have variant of concern, that's the one that gives very severe illness, or variant of interest. So the Delta plus is a variant of interest. It's not been found to give any profound illnesses as such. Also, 3 days ago, I was reading in the literature the discovery of a new virus variant, COVID-19 variant, mu. Now, that was discovered 3 or 4 days ago in the United States. So far, it's also a variant of interest, and we hope it remains like that. The second phase of vaccination started in Nigeria and was flagged off in Abuja on 16th of August, 2021. And the the Moderna and J&J vaccines were brought into the country. The Moderna is the main one. The J&J is limited, usually for adults and the vulnerable citizens. This photograph, I cherish it a lot because it's a photograph showing the first patient, the index patient that brought in COVID-19 to Nigeria. That's him in yellow. I don't know if you can see it. In yellow face mask. And the Commissioner for Health, Lagos State, is just next to him. Yours truly, three places, I'm the third person to his left. This photograph was taken on the night he was leaving Nigeria back to Italy after he was successfully treated in our facility at IDH Yaba. You can notice some few things here. There's nothing called social distancing in this photograph. Also, none of us were wearing face masks. This was because this was the early days when we did not know how this virus was being transmitted. We did not know the virulence of it. And I always show this photograph anytime I go, wherever I go, locally or abroad, to make presentations like this, to show that this virus is a novel virus. We don't know things about it yet. We're still learning about it. This is the early days. This was in March, precisely March 18th, when he was well and he was going back to his country. Next, I will show us some global COVID-19 statistics, and I hope we can follow and see where I'm going to make a point at the end of this. Globally, by 16th of September, that's some 3 days or 4 days ago, 3 days ago, the population of the world is over 7.8 billion. And by 16th of September 2021, there were 227,337,262 confirmed cases of COVID worldwide. And on this same date, 4,675,110 souls had died from COVID-19 worldwide. In the United States of America, on that same 16th of September, the US have a population of about 333,341,930. And there were 42,479,780 confirmed COVID-19 cases by this date of 16th September. And how many people had died in the United States? 685,023 people had died from COVID-19 as at 16th of September. Let's come nearer home. In the United Kingdom, on that same 16th of September, the UK have a population of about 68,315,830. And by that date, they had recorded 7,312,683 cases of confirmed COVID-19. Let's look back and do some arithmetic. A population of 68 million having 7 million confirmed cases in the UK. In the United States, a population of 330 million having a 42 million confirmed cases. These are enormous numbers. Now, Nigeria, listen to this. As at 16th of September, we had a population of about 212,277,004. as our population and that they estimated. And we have had 356 cases of confirmed COVID-19, with a corresponding 5,630 deaths in Nigeria. Let's come closer home to Lagos. I'll show us statistics in Lagos as well. You remember the third wave in Lagos started in July. So I'll take my statistics in Lagos State from July. In July 2021, there were 368 admissions of COVID-19 positive cases in the isolation centers in Lagos. 80% of these admissions were not vaccinated at all. Some of the others were indeterminate. We did not know whether they were vaccinated or not before they died, probably. There were 45 deaths from COVID-19 in Lagos in July. 37 of these deaths were not vaccinated. I hope I'm making a point. They were not vaccinated. Most of these cases had comorbidities: hypertension, obesity, asthma, arthritis, and some heart disorders. Let's fast forward to July 14th, 2021. We have a Lagos State COVID-19 dashboard. On 14th of July, there was a total number of 119 cases in the previous 24 hours. 119 cases. The total number of samples that were tested in the last 24 hours to this July 14th were 1,761 samples, making us have a test positivity rate in the last 24 hours to this date of 6.8%. By August 14th, a month later, there were a total number of confirmed cases in the last 24 hours to that date was 369. Earlier on, a month earlier, it was 119. But it's not because of the blood clot, and of course, they thought it wasn't affecting the beta variant of the virus. Now, another myth had to do with past negative experiences with vaccines. For those of us who can remember, there was an episode in Kano recently, about 10 years ago, thereabout, with polio vaccine. Can we remember that, Sir Samas? Yes. There was a lot of hues and cries that the polio vaccine that was given to children in Kano led to deaths of children. Unfortunately, this has been proved not to be so. It was only due to the confusion around that time with the state's epidemiological units. What was killing the children was not the vaccine, polio vaccine given, ordinary cholera was killing them. And today, polio vaccine is still being given to children everywhere in Nigeria. But that incident was in the minds of a lot of Nigerians, and anything vaccine, you don't want to take it at all. Again, the last point I have here as vaccination myth has to do with religious issues. Now, I have to be careful here. I'm in the house of God. However, a lot of Nigerians think that they can pray COVID-19 away, and they would rather sit in their houses, in their bosom, in their houses, and keep praying that they will not get COVID-19. He told me that during the first phase, villagers, even in some towns, they beat the state government vaccine people out of their town, out of villages, that they don't want to be vaccinated at all. And the state had to return some vaccines back to the federal government because those vaccines had an expiry date. In other words, meanwhile, in their isolation centers, the numbers were going up. So I wasn't surprised that they came up with such a memo like this. This is a privileged information, please. Now, let's go back. Let's leave the state government alone. How about corporate bodies? On 13th September, a few days ago, GT.co, that's the Guaranteed Trust Company, holding company, wrote a memo to all staff, to all their staff, free vaccination for all members of staff of GT Bank. I'm sure some of us here work in GT Bank or have relations that work in GT Bank. You can confirm this from them. And they said, if you are not vaccinated by 30th of September, that's this month end, you are not going to be allowed to enter your office if you are not vaccinated. And if by this 30th of September, you are not vaccinated, you are going to be, of course, you won't enter your office, you are going to be put on 50% salary. So we are coming to terms with vaccination. I don't know what other banks will say, but GT.co is one of the leading 3 or 4 banks in the Federation. Now, let's leave Nigeria. Let's go to another country, what the country did. Togo. Togo is one of our neighbors in the West Coast. A memo, or rather, the government was publicized throughout the country that with effect from Friday, 10th of September, that's last Friday but 2021, that there's going to be temporary closure of all churches, all mosques for 1 month. I'm sure our chaplain may have friends in Togo, in the Methodist, one of the Methodist churches there. You can confirm this. A whole country, they are closing up churches, closing up mosques, so that everybody should go and be vaccinated because of the increase in numbers of COVID-19 in their states. And they said no weddings at all for this 1 month. So you can imagine all those that have fixed their weddings for this September or probably October. The government has said no weddings and no funerals as well. Also, no parties of whatever kind or type for 1 month. That's a country in Togo. I've said this. I have other examples in other countries, but of the importance of COVID-19 vaccination, since that's what I was told to come and tell us and convince us about. So in conclusion, what is the way forward? The way forward is be vaccinated. And I repeat, be vaccinated. And I also repeat, be vaccinated. Furthermore, please, despite being calls, which are principally wash your hands with soap and water regularly, the use of face masks in public or closed spaces. I hope I would not, you will not stop me from coming to worship with you after this. Face mask is different from jaw mask, and it is not jaw mask. A face mask is a face mask. If you are in a closed space, and if you are in an environment where you don't have enough social distancing, you should use your face mask. I wasn't too happy, sir, seeing our choristers here in the course of this service. Most of them had their mask on the jaw. You can still sing with your face mask on, and maybe there are not enough microphones for the choristers. You may wish, sir, to provide them with more microphones. The whole essence of face mask is to make sure that these viral droplets are not a source of infection to your neighbor. And I want to say this: take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, take care of the community. And the way to do this is by use of face masks, especially when you are in a closed space, or when you're in a public space, or when there is no adequate social distancing. This is very, very important. Of course, social distance, maintain social distance, and avoid crowded spaces if you can. It's very, very important. I'm not going to mention name, but I know a church here in Lagos that was closed down for two weeks because Lagos State have this Lagos State Safety Commission. They go around churches, they go around mosques to see whether people adhere to social distancing, to use of face masks. In my church, we even have COVID-19 marshals who, during services, go around the church and with humility tell those who do not have their face mask on to please put the face mask on and put it properly as well. And we give those who come to church who don't have face masks, as you are entering, there's somebody that gives you hand sanitizer. And if you don't have a face mask, they give you a face mask as well. This happens in my church. So I want to commit to you, sir, this, and to the whole congregation. It is very, very important for us to use our face mask properly. It is not a jaw mask. Wherever we are in the setting of a public place, or where social distancing could not be practiced. Of course, with our lady that led the praise and worship, it's okay for her to remove the face mask while singing. But as soon as she went back, she used her face mask, which is very good. I hope I'm still in order, sir. I included some oxygen treatment centers which are available in Lagos State here. If anybody feels that he's having some signs and symptoms which may be that of COVID-19, walk into all these treatment centers. They are located in all the local government headquarters. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure for me to come and speak to us on this COVID-19. God bless you, sir. Yes, we'll put a seat for you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Major General Shino Ogunbe. Thank you. Please, we only have time for 4 questions. 4 questions only. I've seen 2 hands up. 3, 4. Finished. Okay, come this way, come this way. Yeah.
Praise the Lord. Thank you so much, sir, for your exposition. It was very awesome. I learned a couple of things. However, I just have 4 questions and possible, as quick as possible, anyways. So the first issue I have is that from your analogy, I realized that considering the population as regards people that are taking the vaccines in Nigeria as against other companies and countries in terms of comparison, I realized that Nigeria, we have over 200 million people, as well as then the UK, most of the countries, you have less than our population in terms of maybe a quarter of our population. For instance, the UK has 68 million people. So if it's okay, so I'm saying that the number of people vaccinated here, our percentage in comparison to other countries might be even probably the whole of the country's population, considering the number of persons in Nigeria. So I feel maybe we have done the needful, but because of our population, you feel it's not so good. The second issue is the issue of enforcement of vaccination. I think the issue of Edo State has been reviewed by the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt, stating that the attempt to enforce such laws is a breach of fundamental rights and has impeded them from continuing such acts. So I think also that the method of enforcement of vaccination should also be checked. The next thing I want to also ask about, okay, yes, this is the final one is, as regards the vaccination, we've also not looked at the death tolls as regards vaccination. For instance, in the UK, as the Daily News will tell you that about 1.2% of the people who have been vaccinated have actually died. Their mortality rate from the vaccination. So how then do we, put our hands to having the vaccinations done? Well done, sir.
Yes.
Praise the Lord. Thank you very much, sir, for your comments. I see your comments are noted, especially with the Edo State government's own. But like I said, it came up as a result of the resolve of the state government to try and encourage people to be vaccinated, even though they went very extremely to have made people go to the court to vent their anger on human rights. But at least it took place. And we all know the reason why it took place. I gave you an idea of it. Again, the number of people vaccinated, the percentage of people vaccinated for any country, it's aimed at arriving at what we call a herd immunity, where in the community, when 60% or 70% of a community are immunized, either naturally or by vaccination against a disease, it's assumed that the virus will be contained. Now, do we want to wait until 60% of the nation are affected or infected by the COVID-19 because we don't want to get vaccinated? That is naturally, by natural infection. Of course not. We are not going to go to the high streets to be asking COVID-19 to infect me because I want to be part of the 60% herd immunity. The option to this is this vaccination bit. So the percentage has to do with arriving at a herd immunity. And if you are current, the United Kingdom even came up with some new rules for travelers to the UK just 2 days ago. And US, United States, have been removed from those who will undergo the mandatory 2nd and 7th day COVID-19 testing. Now, don't ask me about Nigeria, because we had not taken vaccination seriously. So we will still, travelers from Nigeria may still need to self-isolate and take tests on 2nd day and 7th day in the UK, compared to the United States that was removed from the list from other countries as well. And I learned yesterday that even Kenya, by the end of this month, Kenya is likely to be removed from the list as well. They have been graduated from the amber country to green, with Nigeria. So I think that answers your question. Thank you very much, sir.
Praise the Lord. Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate you, sir. My question is, I'm a survivor of COVID-19 Delta variants. So I'm very positive that people should take vaccine. Question, do we need a booster dose? That's first one. Second one, because people are experiencing flu, should they use aspirin? Third one, should children, because are they susceptible? And should we ask the educators to ensure that children wear masks? Thank you, sir.
Please, when you come forward, one question, please. One question.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll start from the last question about children. Should children be vaccinated or not? Usually, before it was taken that children are not affected by COVID-19, but this is not so. In Lagos here, I was privileged to learn about a 6-month-old baby with COVID-19. The mother had COVID-19, transmitted it to the child. Unfortunately, they were twins, and the twin child died after 3 days in one of the highbrow hospitals here in Lagos. Now, 12 years and above are being vaccinated in some other countries, not Nigeria yet. The reason for us here is that we don't manufacture the vaccine. We don't even have enough to go around. And so that was why it was pegged at 18 years and above, noting that, or rather hoping that the 12 years and up to 16, they still have good lungs that can still withstand the COVID-19. Now, with respect to the booster doses, yes, there's a huge talk about booster doses of COVID-19 vaccine. However, it's assumed that the booster dose is going to make sure the normal dose you've had lasts longer. That has been proved. But none of the countries that are talking about it is just still theoretical. Even yesterday, I read about the booster dosing and whatever. It is not official yet, because it's assumed that if you have the disease, you may be immune to COVID for about a month or maximum of 3 months or thereabouts. If you have the vaccine, it should last you for a long while. And then if you get a booster dose, of course, with the elementary knowledge of virology, it's assumed that the booster dose is going to multiply your immunity. That's all about the booster dose, what it takes. For instance, the DPT we take, or toxoid vaccines, we normally take booster doses, isn't it? We do. And this, this increases our immunity. And that is on the light of that it's thought that COVID-19 vaccine too should be able to get a booster dose of it. But till date, booster doses are not being confirmed. Thank you, sir.
Insight. I have a straightforward question, and this is from a personal experience. 2 government-approved laboratories did a PCR test on a person over a period of 1 day, and there were 2 different
you remember in my presentation, I mentioned the various variants, all right? There may be some laboratories which do not have enough, the type of consumable that will detect the Delta variant, which is the latest variant in town, as at the time this was done. The titers may not be enough to suggest positivity, whereas like laboratories in Lagos, they come under a consortium of laboratories under the Lagos State Biobank. And what they do, what the Biobank does is at intervals, they go to the various private laboratories to check and standardize their molecular biology laboratory to make sure that they is up to date. I can tell you that in Lagos Biobank itself, in Yaba, even now, the sequencer for the bank, Lagos is the only place where we have this sequencer in the whole of West Africa, apart from one at Ede. And what this means is that we are able to decipher any variant of this virus. Private laboratories may not. The positivity or otherwise of COVID-19 has to do with the number of the antibodies detected. So it's not impossible that in a particular lab, those antibodies were not able to be detected. That's a minimum level that to be detected. And of course, when you do things like this, there are human errors, machine errors. I mean, I may wish to take this up with you, and all samples that are taken in any of the private laboratories, they end up in the Lagos Biobank. And if there are issues like this, we rerun them. And then the laboratory make my speech that it's assumed that no do. The vaccine, double vaccine, should last not more, I mean, should last for a while. Of course, that was why they said, despite the vaccination, still do the protocols as well, because this is time of new normal. But booster doses have not been introduced yet anywhere. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. My question was partly answered. Now, let me go straight to the point. Is it possible for a fully vaccinated patient to transmit the disease? And it's also possible for a fully vaccinated person to contact the disease within a short time? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, I forgot to mention that vaccination is not a cure for COVID-19. But what it does is that it makes sure that you don't get severely ill and that you don't even get hospitalized. Because the challenge with COVID-19 is those who become critically ill from COVID-19. The chances of coming out of it, if you are critically ill, severely infected, is very, very small. And from records available, both from abroad as well as our own records here, we have published, in Yaba, we have published about 3 papers from COVID-19. About 5% of those infected with COVID-19 will end up being severely ill. So do you want to be part of the statistics of that 5%? Of course not. So what the vaccine does is that even if you are infected, you are going to be either asymptomatic or at best, mild illness. At best, mild illness. So, because we are having issues with those who say, I've been doubly vaccinated and yet I tested positive. Yes, you will test positive, but if you are infected, you will do. But you will not end up severely ill. Where I work, 90% of all the patients that we see, either on the ground floor for those who we are treating, or in the intensive care units, 90% of them have not been vaccinated at all. And I gave an illustration of a very senior person who said he was not vaccinated because he had on social media that those who are vaccinated now will die in 2 years' time. And he did not want to die in 2 years' time. But he ended up dying under a week. Again, I mentioned comorbidities. Most of the people affected with comorbidities, hypertension, diabetes mellitus, obesity, arthritis, asthma, they are the highly vulnerable group of human beings. If not vaccinated, they may end up being infected and be severely ill. I hope I've answered your question, sir.
Thank you for the beautiful lecture.
Thank you, sir.
My question is still has to do with booster dose. Do you advise to mix the doses of Johnson & Johnson and Moderna? Since it was on CNN this morning saying Moderna is supposed to be the best, and it was on CNN this morning classifying the vaccines, Moderna as the best, Pfizer and others below it. For somebody, somebody asked me the question, for somebody who has taken Johnson & Johnson and he's taking our booster doses, can he mix it with Moderna or mixing vaccines? Is it advisable to mix vaccines? Since on CNN this morning, which everybody must have seen, they are classifying the vaccines as Moderna as the best, based on their NIH reports. Your opinion, please.
Thank you, sir. As at date, mixing vaccines is not in Nigeria, is not approved as at date. And going through the literature, it's only in Canada that they did a trial of mixing vaccines, and the result of that trial was not peer-reviewed. I have the details here. Was not peer-reviewed of mixing vaccines. And following that, the World Health Organization, which is the all in all, as far as health matters are concerned, have not approved mixing of vaccines at all. Based on that, in Nigeria, mixing of vaccines have not been approved. In fact, Dr. Shaibu, Faisal Shaibu, said it specifically during the flag off of the phase 2 with the Moderna vaccine. He said it clearly that mixing of vaccines is not encouraged. And I think for us in Lagos State, we abide with that as well. Now, the J&J vaccine is supposed to be a single shot. And we received just a little quantity of that. And because of that, that is being reserved only for the vulnerable, which are the elderly and hard to reach areas in the creeks. Those, because you can't, to get to the creek or get the people in the creek to come to local government, to the mainland, may be a difficult thing. So just give them their single shots and know that you have vaccinated them. Whereas the others can do the double vaccination. I think I'll try to answer your question, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
I would like to call Brother Ogan to please come and give the vote of thanks.
Worthy is the Lamb. I urge all of us to give a resounding applause to our speaker. Please be seated. On behalf of the Chapel Council, we thank you, sir, Major General Ogumbi, for the military precision with which you dissected the facts and the myths and dealt with all the issues. Thank you because this is coming at the right time. Thank you because this is coming from the right kind of person. Thank you because you have leveled with us. You have not told us things that we cannot relate with. You have not been too academic, despite your loaded academic profile. And indeed, you have made it clear to us and to people who depend on us that vaccination is mandatory. On behalf of this chapel, we assure you that we will continue to comply. On behalf of this chapel, we assure you that those points which you have observed, that we will examine them and deal with them. Thank you for being frank but fair. And indeed, we pray that God will continue to keep you strong and healthy and will let you do even more than you are doing today. God bless you and thank you very much.